Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I'm your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions and a couple of closed Facebook groups for roadies called Death by Loadout and the Backstage Pass. You should come over and check us out over there. It's kind of fun. We get up to some shit. Tonight I got next to me my good friend and co-host, Kyle Thomas.
How you doing, Vinny?
Oh, Daddy, you know it's been a little crazy around here, Kyle.
It sure has. You looking good? You got your hair slicked back. You look sharp.
Yeah, different than normal. Exactly. I just came and I
You
said
said
it's going to be different. I'm going to do this a whole different way.
You've been changing a whole bunch of stuff. You've been eating salads.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Oh my goodness.
There's been some green
Guy's been
food
eating better.
that has been forced into my life for the betterment of my old ageness.
It's good for you.
Yeah, it is. My stomach's struggling with it.
Hey, how nice was it with Laura Monroe coming by?
Laura Monroe is such a talent, such a treat, and just a lovely human being. Yeah, I mean, really, the energy she brings in, and you know, I'm not comfortable with words like energy, but really, there's a positive, sweet thing that happens when she rolls in with it. And of course, well, tell Laura Monroe. Tell the people who that is.
Well, yeah. So she's teamed up with Rick Allen, her husband, to write music for several years now, and has developed basically. I think 5 different foundations, 4.
I think it is 4 of them.
Sweet Relief, yeah. Rave and Drum Foundation, Project Resiliency, and the big one is a Big Love concert event, the benefit.
The project? Big Love Project?
Big Love Project.
And of course, she has a Facebook group called the Big Love Army or Big Love Army. You should check it out. It's a place with really good, positive stuff going on. And I've joined it, and it's a great place to be.
Yeah, and it's great seeing the merriment of Loving Hands for Stage Hands and Bob and John and everybody coming together. George really honed everybody in. So the 2 connecting pieces of kind of solving suicide prevention in our industry on top of...
Speaking to it at least, you know, speaking to it, offering some resources and a place to go.
Well, I say solving it only just because the conversation is most of it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, that masculine energy that forms into some cases. We don't have to speak too much about it, but I'm sure a lot of people are aware of it. It's a way to not talk about these things. Maybe it's easier, but it's not true. We need a place to be able to communicate and know that it's going to stay there, you know?
Yes, they are. In both instances, they are private groups that allow you to PM each other if you need. And you're right, the marriage for them to come together in a beneficial way, kind of join forces in this larger message it's important. You know, there's some people out there struggling, and it's a tough, wacky time. And you know, we should all be working our heads off, and there's other things, finances and stuff that come into play with all this, and some folks are struggling, and that's easy to understand that would be the case.
It's nice to shine light on it.
Yes.
And you know, just being so involved in us working and developing the sound set as much as we have, you've been here this whole time.
That's right.
Is so integral to busting our butt all day and then, okay, cool, let's sit down and have a circle and burn some sage and think about this and really contribute our energy to each other in a positive way.
The first place, and I'm going to just be honest here. So then we had a sage circle tonight. There was a heavy hit up of gnarly badasses of the game in the house tonight, just not an hour ago. And we had Greg Price of Ozzy Osbourne and Brad Maddox of everybody, Rush, mainly 20 plus years with Rush, and all these, John Del Rio, like you mentioned, from Loving Hands,
and Scotty Ross.
And Scotty Ross from Van Halen, and all these guys all in here in a circle, and we're talking about consummating this deal with this big love project that we're going to do right out of this very space with get a bunch of rock stars. And we had Rick Allen over there from Def Leppard, and all of our good friends, our guests tonight, and Bernie Broderick, the legendary speaker designer, the loudspeaker designer, all these wonderful human beings, yourself, myself, my brother, and others, Bob Powers, you know, one of the best riggers and the touring riggers on the planet. And just bring all these kind of formidable people together to go after this subject is going to be, I think, something substantial and real, and we'll let you know more about it as it comes up because we're working out details and getting commitments from artists and so on. But so far, I'll tell you this, so far looking really good. The dates, we've got some dates set in place. We did some stuff in here today with drum kits and, you know, set up a stage. So this, as we do here, we tear this stage down, we throw in another one, and and, drum risers and all kinds of good stuff.
It was looking sharp. I can't wait to see it.
And our LDs came in and did their magic and so on and so forth. So it was a very, very productive day, very productive week. We've really been going all week. And it's always nice when you're doing it for something you believe in and something that can help others. And so, not to be too mushy because I don't roll in those circles. But
That was well said.
yeah, but fucking A, real cool, good stuff. I want to do a quick shout out to Pat O'Doul. Pat, you're a badass. Pat is the purveyor of the cool ass cards. Thank you, Pat. And then a person that I fucking love, Mr. Charlie Zaricki. Hello, my brother. Glad you're with us tonight. We got Chris K. and our good fucking friend from Switzerland, Patrick Ingerman. I always fuck that up, but he knows that I love him. But yeah, so we got some class acts on the other end of the hose there tonight, and we appreciate you being here. Listen, as you know, and I say this almost every show because I'm a lucky motherfucker that gets to do this. I got to watch the cussing. Oh, by the way, my staff keeps finding new ways to needle me. Here's the newest. I found this on my desk. I got to quit smoking, man. Bastard. They recorded it an I got to quit smoking message using my own voice. I don't even know how you guys got that. You told me the story, but I'm clever son of bitches. But, you're right. And so, I'm not going to, but they're right.
You just need that little voice. Every time I come over here, I'm going to hit the button.
I got to quit smoking. Yeah. Pretty sure that's not happening anytime soon. But as I enjoy this Camel Wide. By the way, hang on. The guest is trying to jump out. You sit over there, Winston. Be a good boy. And I want to throw some light on a really great page, real quick, and then we're going to go to our guest. EAW Users Group. The people over at EAW, I love these people. They're the people that made that system behind me, which I love. That's Tom Petty's rig, and we've used it for many other things. But the most amazing technology in the game, one of the best loudspeaker companies in the world. I want to thank Jim Newhouse, CEO there, for their support with us, and we support them. Check them out. They got a great page on Facebook called EAW's User Group. Like I was saying, we're very lucky that we get to hang out with some guys. It helps being around for a while that have done some amazing shit. This show is no exception. I would put this in the level of the Greg Price show where I had to read from lists.
You got us a nugget. You got us full-on nugget.
Yeah, like I was gonna do it, but his list is 7 pages long, and so I thought that might be excessive. But it's everybody to everybody. Just imagine the in between, what you can do in 30+ years of being in a rock game, hard and fast. We've got a guy who is a badass. Anything, really. If you need the best A1, you need a great A2, you want the ultimate systems tech. The guy never stops. He's worked with some of the greatest rock bands, everybody from Snoop Dogg to Styx, it doesn't matter. And we love him. He's here weekly with us, training and doing S6L stuff. And we were lucky enough to get him in here tonight. He is the one and only Winston Damme. Hello, my good friend. How are you?
You got to stop calling him that.
Kyle?
Okay, so we have a thing in the shop. What he's talking about is I've been calling him Winston Damme for like ever.
Years.
That's the way his name's spelled, and I'm not that bright. But it turns out it's Dama. So you have my official apology for consecutive many years of me calling you the wrong thing.
I'm used to it.
Yeah. How have you been doing, big brother?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been an interesting life this last few months.
Well, let's talk about it. I'm talking about handling the corona. You just keeping to yourself, and because I know you've had some interesting breaks recently.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. How you handling the corona? What's that about?
Well,
got any secrets?
Well, yeah. Actually, I've got it a little better than some people. In that, I live like on the side of a mountain in the Sierra National Forest, so to isolate is pretty easy, actually, up there. It's not like, being stuck in town.
Yeah.
And I can get out, and so I don't have to worry about masking up or anything because there's nobody around up there, really.
Sure.
So that's good, of course, coming down into civilization,
Kind of change the rules.
Yeah, got to start thinking about the distancing and the masks and all that kind of stuff. So.
How's your lovely wife, Janet?
She's doing fine.
Yeah.
She's probably watching the show, actually.
Oh, I'm sure she is. Hi, Jan.
Yeah.
You got to bring her down with you, and we always enjoy visiting with her. I know you. Recently, we had a very similar situation, except for yours was, in my mind, even sketchier and lamer. We both got evacuated from our homes in the hills, as it were. We lived in opposite sides of California, but not that different. And I know I could see from our house, and it was about 3.5 days they asked us to leave. You had the Creek Fire, which was a massive conflagration. How did that affect you?
Well, it got really smoky, and then of course we could see up on the ridge the actual flames and the glow from it, and it just took off. And we ended up getting evacuated for, probably a little over a week and a half, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of snuck in once, I somehow got past all the checkpoints and got in there and was able to wet everything down again, try and help, things from catching fire. There's ash and embers.
I saw some of those embers. Some of those were like,
well, the biggest
size of a
pieces were
cigarette
about
pack.
this big, actually.
That's amazing.
Yeah, actually it was like, bark that had caught fire. Landed, it was all charred, and then lots of pieces about yay big, like that.
Amazing.
Parts of branches, falling out of the sky, and all kinds of ash.
It's amazing that didn't go worse for you, that you're back in your home now. The Red Cross, I know, was there for you. When this is happening to you, we were speaking to it on the show because we were worried for you,
Yeah.
And it's just such a weird thing, and it's such a strange part of being a Californian, mudslides, fires, and earthquakes, baby. It's what we do.
Right.
Good place to have a metal roof.
Yes, no doubt.
Yes.
That's a good point when you can have it and afford it. And it's a unique way to go. But I'm glad that all worked out for you.
Yeah, Red Cross was great. It's funny that, how it started out, because we had to evacuate over to Oakhurst to the Red Cross Center there. And then Oakhurst got put on evacuation alert. So they had to kind of get everybody back out of the places they'd stashed everybody, so that they could send them all to different cities. And
amazing.
So they ended up putting us up in a hotel in Madera, and some people ended up getting put in Mariposa and Fresno.
My goodness.
Yeah,
Wow, that's far from your house.
Pretty much, yeah. But they made life actually pretty comfortable.
Yeah, that's cool. They're good people. They were,
No, I know where I'm going to make my donation this year.
I actually did over that because,
Yeah.
and I knew other folks that were benefiting from their services, and it's a really great, and they do well on the, how much goes to administration, how much goes to the cause.
Yeah.
And if you check those numbers, they do well. You know what I want to do? I want to dig right into your history in rock and roll. But I also noticed about you early days, when you were a young man, not dissimilar to us, you wanted to be a rock star, and you took a pretty good shot at it. Talk to me about that.
Well, early on, way early on, I grew up here in the Bay Area initially, so I was exposed to the San Francisco music scene, that whole thing back in the 60s and whatnot. And that was really inspiring to me anyway.
Sure.
So I really wanted to do that. I wanted to play music, and, I wanted to be the best guitar player in the world. And then I found out it's a really big world.
Well, I saw some of the photos of you, some of your from magazine articles and stuff, and you looked like you were super down.
Oh,
you had the rock star thing. You had bang on. It was
I was
cool.
a playaholic. I was practicing every day.
No, that's how you get good, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Well, it turned into somehow or another. You decided I want to be on the soundboard side, on the control service side. What was talk to us about the
that
transition?
Wasn't actually a calculated decision, actually. It was really more of PAs back in that day pretty much sucked.
Okay? They were rough.
Yeah, they were, especially, out in Central Valley, which is where I was at that point in time.
Sure.
And so I was seeing all these local bands and even some of, national acts getting slaughtered by these, crappy local systems. And so it came out of a desire to represent my band, which was Aurora at that point, and to, make them sound better, on par with what you would see, like if you go to, say, at that time, say, Winterland or,
Sure.
places like that. And so back then you couldn't really buy a lot of stuff. It wasn't like it is now where you can buy a speaker system, an amp, and a mixing console. You had to make your own gear back in those
That's right.
days.
Yeah.
You know, you'd pick a speaker and then you'd design a cabinet around it. And so every sound company had its own version of a speaker cabinet. But anyway, so that's how it came about. I started building stuff for my band to basically play through. And then it kind of grew to the point where I couldn't park my car in my garage anymore because it was too much PA equipment.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of justify all the money I had spent on all that stuff. And I
That's
was
right.
kind of getting offers more for the PA than I was for the band. And so I kind of just slipped into it. And when I got to start mixing, I really found that the art of mixing, I really had a real passion for it. There was a real involvement that I experienced. Just like playing guitar has an emotional connection.
Right.
You know, and when everything's in the pocket,
Oh, man.
you know, in
What
the
a
mix,
sweet feeling.
it's that same power, that same magic.
Well,
you know?
and I mentioned that before about your training. You're one of the guys that, especially at our age, where you just keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
You're as up to date as anybody I know, and I think it's because of that love, trying to capture those moments. And let's dig into it. Now I'm going to drag you around in your career because the career is healthy. This is a big, fat, wonderful career. So it's not going to be logical. So I'm going to have some fun with this. All right, tell us about the time you were on tour with Warren G and he almost got you killed.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that was
That's a fun question for me.
that was the Temple of Boom tour, okay?
Yes, it was.
There was probably 10 acts, you know, those kinds of tours. Everybody has like 3 hits, you know, and
That's right.
you know, and then they move on. So, and gosh, I don't even remember who all was on there. I think it was Ina J and Bone Thugs and Harmony, and God, I can't remember all of the acts. But anyway, we were in that particular day in Monterey at some arena theater thing, whatever it was, and we were going through, you know, sound checks and everything, and we were getting calls periodically through the day from Warren G's people saying they were running late, but they're going to be there, you know, and so we just kept moving forward with it and got into the show. And you know, I was out at front of house mixing most of the acts. Actually, I think there was only one other engineer there. And we went through all the acts, and then, you know, basically I got a call through the ClearCom to just keep playing music, you know. It's like, okay,
Stretch.
do this. And then, and so it just seemed like it was taking a long time because it's not like we had to reset a band.
Right.
You know, they're basically track acts.
Track acts, no doubt.
Yeah, so and so it kept going. Then I noticed like everybody on stage kind of disappearing. And then, you know, finally one guy, the production manager, somebody comes out to the MC mic and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, basically, you know, we are sorry to say, but Warren G won't be able to make the show tonight." And turned around and literally ran out the back door. And it's just like, what the hell? And it's like the next thing, the crowd just went ballistic.
Yeah.
They went nuts, kind of, you know, just the side of a riot. And they started storming the front of house riser because the only representative for the show at that point is me.
was you.
Yeah,
That's
everybody
right.
else on stage bailed. And they literally climbed up on the riser, ripping cables out of the mixing console and the racks and
Jesus
stuff.
Christ.
And I had one of those old Anvil briefcases.
Oh, I remember them.
Those
The
things,
blue guy with the...
Well,
the
mine was white, but it was, you know, but
white.
still the same thing. They're heavy, indestructible.
Oh, yeah, you'll clear a nice lane if you need to get out with
Well, that's
that
what I
son
had
of a
to
bitch.
do.
Yeah.
I was literally swinging this thing, knocking people off the riser and yelling at everybody. It's like, hey, hey, hey. You know, it's like, I'm here. Warren G's the guy that's not here,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, and they finally calmed down. And
Early rap shows could, early day rap shows could be a little rough sometimes.
no, one of the
get the metal
companies
ones,
I used to work for, we finally declined to accept any work doing rap shows because there was just way too much violence, and the ratio between the people and the security is complete. I mean, security is outnumbered. You know, when that many people start acting up, they can't control them.
Oh, there's not a lot they can do. That's a fact.
And we've seen that over the years. I mean, you know, whole auditoriums, you know, destroyed, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, gear destroyed, lighting, mixing consoles, cameras, you name it, chairs.
You know, it's, well...
Yeah, you almost got me killed.
And that's, frankly, sadly, not that uncommon of a story and some of those scenarios. Talk to me about doing sound for 50 Cent then, because he's been known to have an interesting crowd.
Yeah,
Can be a lot of fun. This artist can be pretty fun though.
Yeah,
but
it was actually with 50 Cent was actually a good show. I think that was an outdoor show at a fairgrounds, I believe, if I remember right. So that's always kind of
good times though.
cool. Yeah, he showed up, did his thing.
Good
I
posse.
got to exercise the subs a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They're always good for that.
Yeah, no, but it was fine. Yeah.
I know that you had great luck and maybe a little bit tricky time with the one and only Chubby Checker. So you had to be of a certain age to understand what we're talking about right now. But
Right.
Chubby Checker
Right.
was kind of a badass, and he had his way.
Absolutely.
And he was responsible for the twist and all these things. Little known fact, though, could be a little tricky to work with.
Yes.
Yeah, talk to
Yes.
us about that.
Well, we were up in Napa actually up the fairgrounds up there, and there was an old, real like concrete kind of a slab stage surrounded by hay bales, so it was very exposed.
Oh boy.
And this show was actually televised. There was a lot of media there and going on, I think as far as I know, all the major networks. And, we set up the whole thing, started the show, and everything I thought was going pretty good, but Chubby was not happy with the monitors. And he had his own guy actually mixing monitors on that one. And I was standing just kind of behind him, just off to the side, just kind of keeping an eye on things, just in case I need to, whatever, fix something. Chubby finally stops the show, and I was pissed, and basically looks at the monitor guy and said, "You're fired," okay. And then so I'm looking, just going, "What the hell?" And he points at me and goes, "You mix monitors." Now he'd been seeing me all day doing my thing,
Sure.
So I got it there, and thank God it was, in the days of analog, so I didn't have to try and, dig through this.
Do somebody's show file. Or,
Oh, yeah. Everything, for those don't know, analog, everything is fully on display.
There it is.
There it is. You don't have to go through pages or menus or anything. It's all there.
Yeah.
Easy to get to.
Reach over to the outboard, get it back on the button knobs. Yeah.
So we made a few changes. I mean, now the cameras are rolling through this whole thing. This is going out on national, network TV.
Heavy.
This whole thing.
Chubby wanted it his way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I made a few changes, and I just kept my eyes glued on him the rest of the show, just looking for any kind of.
Up and.
Yeah, I was just trying to, learn his language on the fly there, and that's my Chubby Checker story.
I love it. Early days for you. I know. I never got to go to Winterland. I know the history of Winterland. It was famous. I think the Sex Pistols played their last show there. Dad used to play the place on the regular.
Everybody played there.
Everybody played Winterland.
Yeah.
San Francisco, kind of legendary venue.
Can't forget Hendrix.
Hendrix, I think, went to Winterland.
It was one of my favorite venues to go to back in the day.
Yeah, when you were a young man. I know you rolled up on it when they were pushing up the original Wall of Sound, and you got to experience some of the...
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I'd heard about it, and I'd heard that the Dead were going to do the sound check, which was the actually kind of unveiling of this system, the tuning of it, and it was actually a 3-day concert. And so I've got to check this out. I wasn't a sound guy. I was kind of like a hi-fi nut, actually, at that point in time, And
and they were doing something kind of new. I mean, they were bringing it hard.
Yeah, and that was the emphasis, actually, was hi-fi, honestly. It was like a no-holds-barred approach to doing sound, no horn-loaded anything, because horns at that time had quite a bit of distortion and stuff.
Sure.
So, and so I managed to get there early, and I don't remember how, but somehow I got in the building early, too, before everybody else got in there. And so it was the Dead sound crew, and these were some legendary guys. It was like Dan Healy, Don Pearson. And,
some of the guys at first took a kind of scientific approach to some of these things.
Yeah, well, they did. And, Owsley, Stanley Owsley, or Owsley Stanley, there it is. He had been sort of given like an open ticket to exercise some of the concepts that he had as far as developing a sound system that was no compromise.
Yeah.
And so it was a really interesting thing because when you look at it, yeah, you see this immense wall of speakers behind the stage. And in Winterland, on that particular show, it was literally almost from one wall all the way to the other, and from the floor just shy of the ceiling.
Insane.
But the thing that was interesting is that it's actually a combination of different technologies. And a lot of people think L Acoustics introduced the line array.
Yeah.
You know, this was actually predates all of that. If you look at what's going on in all those columns of speakers, each one of those columns represented a particular instrument, one of the, like Jerry's guitar or Phil Lesh's bass or something like that. And so you actually had, and that's why the columns were different lengths, because the length of the column dictates, you know, the lowest frequency over which it has control over. So Phil Lesh's stack of 18s and 15s was immense. I mean, that thing went like almost to the ceiling. Where the guitar rigs were, you know, not quite as, you know, tall.
Sure.
And then in the middle was this huge curved, and that was, instead of line array, that was actually virtual array technology. So it was more of like a point source kind of thing. And it was an amazing thing to look at. And they, the first time I'd encountered pink noise, one of the guys was walking around with a analyzer mic on the end of this tall pole, and they were running pink noise through the system.
They're pink in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was checking, actually he was checking the different drivers from, you know,
no shit.
through the whole thing, yeah. And so I was kind of amazed just looking at this whole thing, and then, you know, eventually got into the show, and honestly, that is an amazing sounding system.
Yeah.
You know, it was really, really clean and clear. Everything was just, you know, it was a great hi-fi system. It just wasn't practical to move.
Oh no, yeah.
It was just so many tons, and it was so laborious to set up and transport and truck and everything.
Real estate needs it, storage needs it. It's just from a business point of view, I got what they were going for, and it's legendary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it kind of pushed forward, you know, the idea of the science behind the technology and the way that you deploy a system.
Yeah.
But somebody had to start, and the Dead came out, and that's a kind of fascinating thing.
Yeah, it was cool.
Hey, I know you learned an interesting lesson the hard way about how you internationally travel with gaff tape. You terrorist fuck.
This is about a little over a year ago.
Yeah, talk to us about it.
I'm front of house for the Pointer sisters, and we were on tour with New Zealand and Australia, and it was with the Jacksons and Kool and the Gang and Sister Sledge and the Village People, Sounds of the Supremes. So with, you know, 6 bands, there's a lot of equipment, but a lot of just luggage.
Sure.
You know, with the Pointers, we travel on average about with 22 pieces of luggage. You know,
that makes sense.
With everybody, and so in order to differentiate our gear and luggage from, say, the Jacksons and everybody else's, I was putting, you know, big old stripes of pink. You know what I mean? I'm talking bright pink.
Yeah, sure.
Gaff
Fluorescent
tape
pink,
on all the bags and cases.
This is ours.
Yeah, absolutely. So that we could, you know, deal with it, because we had to go from airport to airport and, you know, hotel to, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so basically, when we went from New Zealand over to Australia, going through the equivalent of TSA there, the scanners picked up the roll of pink gaff in my backpack, which I carry on the planes. And I got pulled aside, and this guy, this agent is holding this roll of tape, and I'm totally ignorant to what's going on here. I did not know that policy there.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure that's the policy
like,
across airports for the. Okay, go ahead. Tell the story.
Well, he's looking at this roll of tape. To me, it's like he's looking at it like he's never seen a roll of tape before, and he's pulling it out, you know, unraveling it. And
he's trying to see how strong it is.
Well, that's what I found out. Yeah, I was like, he's pulling on. It's like, so I said, basically, I said, hey, you just tear it from the side. I said, let me show you. And he, you know,
it's like
you
you're
do
trying to
not
grab a
reach
gun.
across the thing there. I'm just like, holy crap, man. I thought I was going to get thrown on the ground at that point.
Yeah, they're
and
serious.
so, again, I'm still oblivious as to what is the problem is here. And I said, dude, if you want the roll of tape, you can have it. It's really not that big a deal to me. I'll get another one.
You're nicer than I am.
So he kind of looks at me, and that's when he kind of figures I'm pretty much ignorant about, you know, what's going on there.
Did he give you the reason that's not necessarily a good idea to roll up with tape in your baggage?
Yeah,
onto a
apparently
plane?
it's a terrorist weapon.
It's to detain. You can wrap people up with it.
Yeah, you can restrain people with it.
You know, the flight attendants and
I
stuff.
had no idea.
Yeah,
You know?
I know you're an innocent, but it's just funny to me.
Well, it was,
got rolled.
but I'm kind of getting nervous because everybody else has already gone through,
Oh, yeah,
and they're
yeah.
all waiting for the flight, and I'm detained back at the checkpoint.
Yeah.
You know, dealing with this terrorist
I
weapon
said
in my
you learned the
backpack.
lesson the hard way. I mean,
But at least I didn't get fined $400 for carrying a banana into the airport. You know.
ooh,
Yeah,
that's,
you don't carry a banana into New Zealand.
No, there's very good reasons for that.
Yeah.
For bringing in fungi and bugs and all kinds of eggs and things that could that their island doesn't have. It's a fucking island and
Yeah.
it's pristine and don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
New Zealand's my favorite country, I think.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Amazing, good people, beautiful, and it's got all the different terrains and
Yeah,
it's
I like New Zealand.
great politics. Great, it's just a good place. It's fascinating. Because your list of accomplishments and people you've worked for is so friggin' long, I had to wedge a couple things together. So I'm going, and you sent it to me alphabetized, which I loved that. That was awesome.
You asked.
It was starting an Abe,
I thought he printed out 4 copies. I thought he honestly printed out 4 copies, and I kept on trying to peel it off in the meeting, and I was like, wait, this is a different page. Oh, this is a different page. Holy shit.
It was beyond the who's who of what's what. It was just everybody.
That was impressive.
But so I wedged a couple together, and there's no logical rhyme or reason why they should be that, except for they began with J. Jerry Lee Lewis and Jethro Tull, 2 in your J series of bands that you were
Right.
that are fascinating acts. So how did you like working with Jerry Lee? Or did you find him in a good place? Because Jerry can be a super fun guy.
Yeah.
And he can also light his piano on fire and kick it off the stage. What did you have?
Well, it was a unique scenario, and what's interesting about that, one of those shows, because I've worked with him a bunch of times, but
Yeah.
the one that really stands out is I had actually Jerry Lee, Chuck Berry, and Little Richard all on this,
damn.
all together. And you've heard that rivalry, between Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee, who's going to open and who's going to close the show.
Chuck is like pulled some shit on Jerry, and
yeah.
Jerry has pulled some shit on Chuck.
Yeah.
Yes, I know absolutely. And Chuck is a very serious man. He will not play if he is not paid first. I mean, he's got rules, and as a result, it's kept him from being fucked over by the game for 30 years. But he can be, wow.
Yeah.
And then Little Richard in the mix.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to tell us about that.
Okay. About Little Richard?
Whatever part of that story, because
well-
I'm just imagining the 3 of them, trying to share space, and how that must have been really
Well,
tricky.
that rivalry still existed at that time, and this is in the late '90s at this
Amazing.
point. And there was some discussion, maybe some dissension possibly about who's opening and who's closing the show again.
Yeah.
And that was more between Chuck and Jerry. Little Richard, actually, he really kind of laid low that day.
Some say he's the first rock and roller.
Yeah.
Little Richard is not the inventor, but the first rock person credited as a rock and roller by, was it Alan Freed? I think it was Alan Freed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He coined the term for Little Richard is rock and roll. He rocks and rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Total badass.
Yeah, no, it was a good show. What I was intrigued with regard to Chuck Berry, by the way, was the fact that he doesn't tune his guitar before the show. I kid you not. He literally,
Tunes on the fly?
no. He takes the guitar out of his case,
Yeah.
puts it on, plugs in, and however that thing came out of the case is how he plays it.
Wow.
Yeah, I was floored.
Wow.
I was like, really?
Well, I know he's big on not having staff. He keeps the money close and tends to work with the house band, or and he's got a very specific way of working. He's a friggin' legend. I'm not even sure if Chuck's still with us. Is he? I think he may still be with us. He's so
I don't
damn
know.
ornery. I don't think he could go without until he's decided that it's time.
Right.
But
Jerry Lee still is.
yeah, Jerry Lee. I mean,
He's doing another show here coming up, actually.
not surprising in the least.
Yeah, I just saw that today.
Monster on the piano.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all 3 of them are. We wouldn't have rock and roll as we know it without them doing what they did.
Right.
And so when I've had the rare opportunities to work with these guys, you kind of just sit back and like, wow, man, how did I get this job?
Right.
This is pretty cool.
Now-
Regardless of how the politics of the show or what's going on with that, you always got to feel a little grateful to see the incarnation and them still doing it. That's also a little inspiring.
Now, Little Richard, I've had the opportunity to work both sides of the console, as monitor, engineer, and front of house. And I got to tell you the monitor engineer story. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but Little Richard has 2 bass players, 2 guitar players, 2 drummers, horn section, backup singers, and
He brings it.
yeah, he does.
It's a tough monitor job.
It is,
Yeah.
but the thing that's tough about it is that they don't really work as a team very well, and so each one of them comes to you individually, and literally, I was told, forget those other guys. It's all about me.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, and so it's like I got one bass player telling me this, I got the other bass player telling me this, and I got, I think, one guitar player telling us. So it's just like, okay, the old put your finger around the knob, but don't actually touch it.
Yeah, yeah.
Make the ghost changes.
Yeah, I got the ghost knobs on the board anyways. I mean, if there's space for, it sounds like with a band that big, you might not have had that luxury, but
No.
you had to do the fake fade. The fake, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Go to an unused aux or something like that.
I would tell you, I'll tell you after a band that would do that, a very large band, a famous band that we both worked for and know, and that would, the horn section would roll over, yeah. Shine, the organ guy's gonna try to blast us off stage. Fuck him. It's like, yeah, and I'd be like, "Is there any money in this for me?"
Right.
This isn't a free thing. BB King, good memories with BB. BB was a sweet man.
Yeah, God, I did a bunch of shows with BB over the years. Honestly, and I got to interact with him directly.
Sure.
He was always a really nice guy.
Such a pro.
Yeah, it's such a pro.
Him and Lucille, they come up on stage and do their thing.
Yeah, actually, the last couple of shows, he was not in really great shape.
He was in a stool or in a
wheelchair.
chair. Oh, wow.
And he would actually roll the wheelchair like through the tour bus to the steps. And of course, the wheelchair won't navigate the steps coming down, out of the bus.
Wow, that's
so
right.
we all had to get around in front of BB and guys behind him and literally lower him in his chair down onto the ground, and then wheel him to the stage. And he would make his way up the stairs and make his way, on his own feet, not the wheelchair.
Under his own steam.
Yeah, under his
sure.
own steam, yeah.
Sure.
To the chair, and he would plop down in that chair in front of those pair of Fender twins, and he would just stay there.
And just murder it.
It was.
I saw a late show with him, and he was in a chair, and he was able to get there by himself. We did a thing with him, and it's just Action Racks, it was a local support regional thing, and I was taken from the first time that I'd worked with him, 25 years earlier, how he still had the chops.
Yeah.
I mean, the man could play.
Yeah.
Some people stay too late to the party, but he just wasn't. It just oozed out of him. He was just such a natural and such a sweet man. Yeah, we're lucky to have been able to work with a giant like that.
Oh, absolutely.
That's still one of my favorite shows I ever did.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get to work it. I got to go to Randall's Island, New York, and see Little Steven's Garage Rock Festival.
Oh, sure.
And Bo Diddley came out, started playing, pulled out his little pillbox.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that whole experience was such a trip for me.
Bo Diddley was amazing.
Amazing.
Fun to work with live
super
also.
Great.
Yeah.
Super good guitars.
Instead of a pedal board, he had it built into his guitar.
That's right.
God, there was more effects built into that guitar. Holy cow.
That was his whole thing. You know? I think Jack White kind of takes a page from him, and just being able to turn out these incredible instruments from the weirdest shit to get these effects. And Bo Diddley was very special.
Yeah.
I know you worked with Penn and Teller. Now,
Yeah.
in our business, if you know anything about doing shows with somebody like Penn and Teller, it's not it's sure you're doing talking heads, you mic them up, but Penn and Teller come with some special rules. What did you experience with Penn and Teller?
Well, Penn, wears glasses,
Yeah.
And so trying to do, mic him up in a way that was discreet, and effective, they actually had their own way of doing it, and they just basically told me what to do. And what it was actually running a pair of lavaliers, 2 belt packs of 2 lavaliers, actually up his shirt through over here and then along the frame of his glasses, and actually taping the elements like right here.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how you mic him up.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, and it works. Now, tell her he doesn't speak.
I'm aware of that.
Yes.
He actually does, but yeah, not
during the show.
Yes, yeah, and not out in public. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've actually had a chat with him before.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But I know that I only interacted with them the one time, and there were certain times during the build where you had to they disappeared you, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because they were breaking out their tricks and putting their little gizmos and gadgets in place, and I found it to be absolutely fascinating. And I like that even by the end of the night, I still had no idea how they pulled off half the shit they did.
Yeah.
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 Because they're fascinating guys. I mean,
Right.
and extraordinarily whip smart, intelligent.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, it's a departure from the normal comedians, or which there's an element of their show is comedy.
It is.
But it's also magic, and it's
Right.
also think. There's
Right.
a lot of think stuff going on there,
Flo and Eddie were like that, too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a vast experience. Faith Hill, mixing with Buford Jones, the one and only Pink Floyd's Buford Jones.
Yes.
What was that like?
Buford's an amazing and interesting individual.
Yeah.
He and I hung out a couple of times, and
he had some interesting ideas, though, about how to do the shows with
yeah,
Pink.
and this
Faith
was
Hill.
at the time with Faith anyway.
Yeah, right.
Was when he was actually he wasn't actually mixing in the building or in the venue at all, which was, and I didn't know this coming into it. I mean, I'm coming in, we're providing a system, and doing all that, and so I'm basically being told to take the snake and find a way out of the building out to the back alley.
And you're like,
kind of
what?
going,
Why am I doing that?
What the hell? So because I've got a pair of graphic equalizers sitting at front of house like they're supposed to be as per their request. And so what he had was in the semi where they hauled all the band gear and risers and set pieces and all that stuff. He had up on the dance floor the equivalent of a recording studio set up in there. And so what he had done was actually taken a bunch of load bars at the end of the dance floor and had all these carpeted pieces of plywood somehow attached to all that stuff. And then on a stand, ratchet strapped to the front wall of the trailer was this ATI Paragon.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, which is, phenomenal analog board, right?
Oh, at the time, that was a shit.
Oh, yeah, and he had a pair of Genelecs sitting right there, and he had some subwoofer down here underneath the
So
thing.
he's all up in the nose of this semi, you're
Yeah.
saying, in a 53. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
And he had a
imagine.
little TV
Yeah.
sitting there, just a little portable
closed
TV
circuit
on the
for him.
meter bridge there.
Yeah.
And then he had 2 racks, just loaded with, all kinds of great,
Of course. It's Buford Jones, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, all the best stuff. Ratchet strapped again, one to each wall.
Just imagine.
And I'm looking at this setup, and I'm like, what are you going to do here? So he explained to me, and I was like, wow, really? You're going to mix from out here?
That's right.
So basically what we did is he had a kind of an EQ curve that he had in his little control room world there.
Sure.
And so what I had to do was basically shoot the mains in the theater where we are,
Right.
and try and make those mains, replicate the response of his little
Informed to
control
the
room
curve
thing.
that he imagined that was the best.
Yeah.
It was not uncommon. I've interviewed, I never got to work with Buford. It was before my time. But I've interviewed other folks and have friends that have, and it was not uncommon for him to split up the duties.
Yeah.
He was big on that. He'd have a thing where you work the right side, I work the left side of the board. You can't come into my side, but I can come into yours.
Well, with
You
the
know?
Pink Floyd thing,
Yeah.
he actually split it up 3 ways.
That's right.
They had one console, the one on the left actually, and this is back, I think, at Division Bell possibly, and when they did that big concert on those floating barges out in
Yes.
the harbor at Venice.
Yeah.
That was an amazing
Oh,
story.
shit, that is
when he was telling me
nuts.
about that.
Yeah, totally crazy.
He played me, by the way, some board tapes, just, off his left and right main mix bus.
Yeah.
Some Eric Clapton, some Pink Floyd, and God, somebody else, I can't remember. His board tapes
Oh, I can only imagine.
were amazing. They sounded easily as good as an album, if maybe not even better.
Probably more exciting.
Yeah,
More-
absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with the Pink Floyd thing, he had one, like it was a 50-some channel console analog over here, and that was all the percussion, because that's how many channels of that stuff they had.
Yeah.
Then he was on another board, and I think they might have been using AMEC recalls, at least for this one. And that's where he had the whole band and the vocals. And then there was another one off to the side over here, manned by another guy, separate engineer, and that's where all the effects.
Can you imagine the friggin' real estate involved?
You'd never be allowed that, too.
No way.
Those big analog boards like that. You know?
Excuse me. That's like 20.
Well, we'd be
it's like-
occupying a footprint like what we've got here. You know?
Well, yeah, right. I mean, that's 20 seats you can't sell, at least extra.
Right.
You know, and that's what promoters today really dig digital for that and other reasons.
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels, we just lost him.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing at our age. We are the people we've worked with, some family members, our friends, this hideous situation we're going through for people kind of pulling the pin. But Charlie Daniels, what a sweet, I mean, the guy was so pure. He
Yeah.
would come out and just put on a show. What was your experience with Charlie?
Good. I worked with him a number of times from the mid-'90s up until just a year ago, actually. And, it was always good. You know, his band was good.
Yeah.
He was always
real pickers.
solid, nice guy. Don't heckle him, you know.
Not going to work out well.
No, there was
Yeah.
one show we were doing, and somebody in the audience yelled something that rubbed him the wrong way, and he just stopped the show right there, and it's like, he basically told whoever that was in the audience, it's like, if I wasn't up here right now, I'd come down off this stage and whip your ass.
And he could do it.
He would.
He
yeah.
was a substantial guy, and he had a certain. You just actually could look at Charlie and know that was part of his game. Now
Right.
he wasn't offered that up on his sleeve, but you could tell.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with Charlie, and Charlie's here to have a good time. But that switch could flip pretty quick, and
It did.
he'd be out in the crowd and put a speed knot on somebody's head real fast.
Yeah.
yeah. And you know what, Charlie fucking Daniels deserved to have that right to be respected.
Right.
And I mean, as much good and as many smiles as he put on people's faces through the years, it just come on.
Oh, yeah.
So, alcohol and fans sometimes don't always go so good together.
Yeah.
I came up in the punk rock days, but just before that, before I was able to make choices for myself in my house, late 70s, early middle 70s, Mom was rocking the Casey and the Sunshine Band and all that disco stuff. And so, in the bass player in me and the guy who loves sound, I have to admit, I was down with the Sunshine Band.
Yeah.
And you got to work with Casey.
Yeah.
I did one show with him at Santa Cruz Boardwalk, and it wasn't exactly what I remember, but still an extraordinarily talented guy. How was your experience with Casey and the Sunshine Band?
It was good. Again, it was another one of those artists that I had the opportunity to work with a bunch of times over the last, say, 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And, I watched him go through various phases.
Incarnations.
Yeah, incarnations.
Sure.
Not of the band so much, just him.
Yeah.
Kind of, as he grew as a person. And I would say probably one of the most memorable shows, though, is we were down in Mexico, actually, in Los Cabos. Mm-hmm. And it was a corporate thing. We were down there for a week. And I had a really unique situation to deal with there. The other audio tech, the guy who was supposed to be doing monitors, and the backline tech, well, I should say, was supposed to be doing backline. Both these guys lied to get into those positions.
Uh-oh.
And the owner of the company didn't verify their resumes or anything. And, I mean, these guys literally didn't have a clue about pretty much anything. Okay.
You're in Mexico.
And here
you
I'm
got
in Mexico.
Two knuckleheads that have no clue how to do their work.
Yeah, and
boy.
and it's like I was supplying the rig, which is an interesting story too, by the way. You can't truck your own rig into Mexico.
No, you got to trade off the tractor, right? And then
Well, you trade tractors.
Yeah.
You load the trailer, you take it to the border.
That's right.
And then you pay a $10,000 special insurance charge to not get your gear ripped off.
It's called extortion. But
I know. We had to pay it,
Yeah,
so we had to tack on $10,000 to the bill.
That's right.
And then the rig goes down there. So, and then you meet it down there later.
That's right.
And I could tell it had been gotten into because,
Of course.
you know, there was rack cases that basically had been opened, and God knows what they had done with the stuff in there, but the cabling that was in there, they didn't pack back into the rack when they put the rack lids back on it and rammed those latches shut.
Bummer.
So I had a bunch of cables that were all cut and everything. And then, of course, I'm dealing with, you know, this guy who can't patch anything. The monitor guy literally had no clue. And he was claiming he was the audio engineer for Van Halen and Great White and all these different acts. And he couldn't put together a PA on a stick.
Okay.
You know, if he had to.
Wow.
The backline guy was just as bad. And of course, down there, as soon as things start getting bad, the crew speaks less and less English, you know, as things are getting tougher. And so I'm dealing with, you know, that on top of that. Thank God the Casey's front of house guy, who was actually, I think, a guy from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Sure.
I forget his name. Nice guy. And he was so patient. He could see what I was up against. And he goes, man, just do what you got to do, you know, and
right.
we'll make this work.
That's the name of the game. That's really what we're getting paid for, is those weird-ass moments, you know, especially in international travel, especially South American, Central American traveling.
Oh, yeah.
It can, you know, the power situations are always funky. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
It gets sketchy. They have so many different layers of police, national police, federal police, judicial police, and the different checkpoint, you know.
Yeah.
And then going border to border.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But still fun. There's something really exciting about it.
I mean, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, kind of a busy day. I mean,
I bet.
I'm setting up and doing all the back line. I'm going through wiring the whole stage. I'm doing the monitors, ringing the monitors out, and then I'm going up to front of house and dealing with all that.
But see, that's why I love you. We had there's not much that you can't get your head around. We were having a problem with a rental we did, I don't know, last year before, too, that we allowed stupidly to go to Burning Man.
Yes.
And it came back with playa and everything, which is what happens with Burning Man gear. And we know better, but it was a dear friend of ours doing what seemed like an important thing. So we spent hours and hours trying to get this gear restored, and we came back to the distro. You know, this big, powerful monster distro.
I remember.
It was like, we were all just threw our hands up. We're like, this thing just dead. You got in it and worked on that sucker, lickety split, you know.
Yeah.
And these are very intricate systems that, you know, they're not for the faint of heart. If it's not something you're thoroughly comfortable with, you should not be in a distro, not one of my distros.
Right.
And you licked that thing and kicked its ass and put it right back in service and nothing flat. And that's how I've always known you and understood you, is you know, challenges Pasha, you're going to get in that mix and you're going to do it. And so when I hear the Casey story, that's just not surprising at all. That's how we know you, is you're just the guy that gets it done.
Right.
You know, and hats off to you for that. Leonard Skinner, I know you did spend some time with him. How was that?
Loud.
Yeah. I've heard that review about Leonard before. Leonard likes it loud. Yeah.
So
put the gas on him.
The first times I worked with them was in the 90s.
Yes, sir.
And you know, of course, it was, you know, big loud guitar amps, and in order to make the organ compete with the guitar amps, they had to actually gut the Leslie cabinets, because those tube amps that are in those, you know, those Leslies.
One of my favorite things. I
it's
love
beautiful.
the Leslie speakers.
Yeah, I do too. But they don't get loud enough to compete with that.
No.
So they actually had pulled those units out and actually put Crown DC 300s in the Leslie cabinets to power the Leslie cabinets. And then they had to change the drivers out, because you would explode the drivers that come stock in those things. So they actually had 2-inch throat compression drivers in there underneath that spinning horn.
Wow.
Yeah, to be able to get that kind of volume, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then the 15 was changed out.
They just hot rodded the shit out of those cabinets.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and then of course to get the grand piano, you know, to be able to compete with all that too was I can't remember the miking scheme, because it's mic'd, you know.
It'd have to be.
But then you take you know, the foam weather stripping that has adhesive on it.
Of course I do.
Okay, so while the lid is open, you take the foam adhesive and you line the entire
Lip.
of the
Sure.
entire,
The case.
Yeah.
The piano case. Yeah.
Before
yeah.
you close the lid down on it, because you have to seal this thing up to keep it from picking up everything around it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was ear splitting up there.
Yeah, no, the Southern rock bands bring it hard, and that is just not even a little surprising. I've only seen them live. I haven't worked with them, and I do remember them they were peeling faces, and that's just part of their show, and it's just how they roll.
Right.
You mentioned earlier, and of course I know this about you. I know most of this about you. The relationship with the Pointer Sisters. I mean, this is a national treasure. This band is, come on, 30-something years, maybe 40. Is it 50?
Yeah.
They've been just killing it, bringing the love, bringing the dance, bringing the songs. And I know you're close with Ruth. Talk to us about your relationship with the Pointer Sisters.
Well, actually, it starts back a long time ago, actually 20 plus years ago, my first time encountering them. And Ted Turner had actually had commissioned or somehow a brand new satellite, broadcast system.
Oh, I remember this. Yes.
Yeah, and a brand new truck, the whole thing. So in order to unveil and celebrate and put this thing out there, they decided to have a big concert corporate event, and it was down in Anaheim. And the Pointers were brought in to, be the entertainer. And there was a whole list of guests, like Joe Namath was there. This is when, Broadway Joe was,
That's right.
Still a big deal.
That's right.
And so I was actually, I wasn't mixing on that. I was just teching on that one. And so, I had to set up the whole, bring in the audio for the whole thing, and then interface all of what we had brought in to do the live show with the broadcast truck out in the parking lot on top of that.
Handful.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And so you developed a relationship with these people.
Yeah.
And they got to see why Winston Damme should be their guy.
I mean, we crossed paths a couple more times, and then I left this part of the industry for a while, and I took a job over at a casino doing all their production management and audio engineering and technical direction and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And brought the Pointer Sisters as the entertainers there a couple of times. And they weren't carrying a front of house guy. And so I was the production manager for that. And then I was also the front of house engineer for it. And those were good experiences. And then when I left there, I found out they were going to be doing a fair over on the coast that I was actually going to be doing also. And so I called them up and, let them, hey, man, it's like, hey, we're going to be working again. It's like, really looking forward to this. And, is there anything in particular I need to know outside of what, was on the paperwork to make this show happen?
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was pretty cut and dry. When we got over there, the sound company hadn't prepped the gear properly or completely. So we had they use wireless mics and wireless in-ear monitors.
Sure, of course.
And so I had a in-ear monitor system with no antenna. And then I had wireless mics with the wrong frequency.
Oh, that's great.
Antennas. And anyway, the tour manager was not happy.
I would think.
With what, and so we're on a place where it's not a lot of technology available. So I pulled a few rabbits out of hats, and we did a few things, and eventually got everything to work so we could get through the show. And then I had to run out, and then do the sound check and then do the show. And I had been told basically to keep the girls' mics muted for, and I don't remember why through the sound check. And then they came out, and I guess they assumed that I would know to unmute the mics during the sound check. Well, I didn't, because as far as I know, I wasn't supposed to. So I never got to sound check the Pointer Sisters before the show at all.
Rough.
And so then we went and started the show, dialed them up, and it was a good show. I mean, it felt really good, and the tour manager actually was watching from the stage. That the audience was really reacting, really well to the show.
Yeah.
And apparently, I guess he snuck off stage and actually went out and listened to it, and he was pretty happy with it. Is what he tells me anyway.
I'm sure he was, because he picked you up.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you became an actual contract employee with them. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a few months later, they had a small tour of Central California doing a bunch of theaters and stuff, kind of around the Bay Area, the North Bay, and some other places, and called me up and wanted to know if I wanted to do it. So, yeah, sure, cool.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, I got some paperwork sent to me from management, ThePointer's management, and they decided to make me an employee.
Yeah, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
They know when they got something good, And, in a situation like that, it was a lucky kind of coming together with an incredibly professional act that had a lot of experience, and then a tech that similarly a lot of experience.
Right.
You can be in a unique situation like that and pull it off without a hitch, and the audience is still feeling it. And that's what we're paid for.
Right.
And I think that's why reaching out to the old pros once in a while is probably a good bet.
And I like, honestly, they're great people to work for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that, because you hear other engineers say that, and you go, yeah, you're just kissing their ass, but.
Well, I know you actually, we've had many talks over the years. I know you actually really enjoy these people. They're good people. Ruth Pointer is a legend in her own right. This is an amazing family. And I know when you say that, and I know you to not really be a kiss ass or you're not really, that's not how you roll. So when you say that, I trust us that Winston means that these are good people.
Yeah, the band are really great people.
Band.
I mean, they're good people just to hang with,
Exactly.
And not to mention they're great musicians. I mean, God, they're kind of like the who's who of, session players, and they've played with everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
working with ZZ Top, talk about that. That's a very special act. A lot of fun. One of my favorite people on the planet's Billy Gibbons. We and him have a little ongoing thing with each other about busting each other's balls about beard length. And
I got a story about that.
I owe him $5 right now. I'm not going to go into it. You'll get your money, Billy. Take it easy. I want to get a strong call from him. But did you enjoy your time working with ZZ Top?
I did.
Incredibly great act.
Yeah, they are. They don't seem like they hang with each other much outside off the stage, which is a little different.
Dusty and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is a band. Now think about this: 50 solid years with no lineup changes.
Right.
Okay. What? Come on, stop it. And we know that there's been some stuff along the way, particularly with their drummer, and they're survivors.
Right.
And they're great. And they talk about a catalog. I
Yeah.
mean, right? I mean, they can play a 2-hour set, and you know every song. Even if you're not particularly a ZZ Top, diehard fan. We're all fans. We all love a ZZ Top song or something. But there's so many of them out there that you forget that ZZ Top, that's their song.
I know.
It's fucking phenomenal.
Working with Creedence is the same way.
Creedence,
It's like every song.
Yeah, last year he flew off with one of made it to New York with one of our belt packs. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But Janet did that too. So, sometimes you got to capture your artist before it rolls out, to get your stuff.
Yeah.
That's on us. That's not their bad. That's our bad.
Yeah.
But it's just part of the fun. And last but not least, because we're just running out of time, working with Chicago. I mean, as a band goes, just an incredible
Legendary.
right? I mean, I'm a sucker for horns. I'm a hard rock guy. Most people get that. But there's certain things like Leslie, Hammond B3, a piano, and horns, the Tower of Power.
Tower of Power.
They got me every time.
Great.
It just, Chicago, what was that like?
They were actually really good. The only thing that I do recall that kind of, I was kind of put off a little bit by the whole thing working with them was the guitar volume. Well, Terry Kath, the original player, of course, died. So, and he was a great guitar player and whatnot.
Absolutely.
The guy they've got with him is good also, but he, at least the few times that I got to work with him, like say in a casino environment and some other ones, was so loud he actually had to put his guitar rig off stage, and that guitar rig was just blistering. I mean, just
baffle of shame. You bring out the baffle of shame, and you baffle him up, spin him around.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a thing.
But you know what?
These young cats, man, they don't have any respect for stage value.
So many great songs. Such great players.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's when you see the Yes or Chicago. That's the one place they can't fall down really. And Steely's that way as well.
Yeah.
You know they're going to have some badass. Even when Walter was starting and Steely was starting to not be able to keep up, they brought in a guy to sit kind of behind and keep his parts full. And that's always a treat.
I brought Steely Dan into the casino, actually.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, I know that's the thing with casinos. It's they get the off nights, and you guys can really put in some great acts in those places. And I think it's goes unmeasured or it's not commonly understood that there's all these different lanes in corporate, all these different ways that we push bands out there.
Right.
And casinos is one of the almost tried and true places you can do a Wednesday, a Tuesday, a Thursday, and put asses in seats and work on your game.
Yeah, we
and see some
typically
great
would
shows.
aim for Tuesday nights, which was sort of a slow night for that casino, actually. And I got to clarify, so when I say I mean is a group of people.
I understand.
I and some of the people in the marketing department.
We
Let
understand.
me clarify that.
Yeah, no, we understand.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, as you know, it's been it's been a crazy time. There's all this wacky stuff going on in the world with the bug, and I guess some weird shenanigans in the political world. We stay away from these subjects, but it does affect us in ways that we're enduring right now, as it relates to our work and our ability to work. You've been doing this for a minute. Do you have any idea, any thoughts on where we're going, what the future holds for live entertainment workers?
Boy, yeah, we've been looking at that, haven't we? I think, me personally, and I've talked about it with a number of people, in our industry. I think we're going to be kind of in a state of transition, for a while. I think, some of what we're working on here with the virtual concert
Yes, sir.
concept is something that's going to be up and coming. The live scenario, I don't know that we're going to be able to do anything live in the way that we're used to doing things for a while. Can we put 20,000 people in an arena, crammed in there? No, not right now.
It's going to be a minute, huh?
Not for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've all been watching how these big assemblies are playing out, whether it's a rally or a demonstration or,
Sure.
Wherever people are getting together in mass. And it seems wherever that's happened, there's been a pretty good, take Sturgis, so there was a huge spike in infection rates. I mean, there, locally, but all the people that attended took that with them,
Well, I think some brought it in
and sure
then
they did.
shared it.
Yeah.
And it was listen, Woody there at Sturgis at the Buffalo Chip was no way going to leave his backyard empty. The guy's got 10 days a year to make his money. And, Smash Mouth, our friends from Smash Mouth went out and did a fly date with him and a few others. And I guess it was a roll of the dice thing. And I was actually, frankly, surprised, my opinion of it, I was surprised that more weren't affected by it because, again, his backyard's large and it was full.
Yeah.
And I was getting reports from our friends on the scene at the time that were doing the work and photographs and the whole nine. And they were actually making a concerted effort, at least for the crew and the band. I don't know what they could have done for the audience, but the crew and the band, they were disinfecting the stage. They were making efforts. These were fly dates. Were not buses.
Right.
They flew everybody in. They tried to make it work as best they could. And still there was some, obviously some reported cases and some situations.
Right.
It's just a part of our life right now, and until this gets wrapped up, in my opinion, it's gonna be. And we're gonna find special and interesting ways to work around it. Mm-hmm. And this show is proof of concept of that. The thing that we had in here today, when, like I said, the set was struck and we brought in a whole band, and we were doing camera positions and things like that for a future thing we're doing here. And I guess that's the best we can do for right now. But Lord knows if the green light came on tomorrow, I'd push the biggest rock show I could out of here, and we'd be back in the mix if it meant that people could do it safely.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If we can do it safely,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be trial and error.
Yes.
You know, till we get to that point.
I think you're right. The thing we're talking about doing in here, we've got a company that comes in and sanitizes the whole building, everything, sanitizes the equipment as it comes in. We push certifications up on our walls out here to show that, you know, there's certain procedures. So there's ways, but it will be tricky. Listen, you know, I take great joy in interacting with you in the times that we get to spend together. You've been in quite a bit doing training, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on our show. You're a special guy with incredible talent and skill and experience, and we got mad love for you, Winston. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Happy to be here.
It was a pleasure, sir. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Listen, we can't do this alone. We've got our friends out there, the audience that you know, you guys, we appreciate it. If you like what we do, will you subscribe to the channels where you find us? We're on Facebook Live, Twitch, YouTube. We've got our podcast, thanks to my good friend, Kyle Thomas. You're a badass, Kyle Thomas.
Love you,
you know, you're a man. With, what is it, Spotify, Pandora, Stitcher, iTunes, Google. Did I miss anybody? Amazon? Apple, that's iTunes, I think. Oh, no, not a fan. But yeah, so where you can find us all over in all these different places. Remember to check out EAW Users Group. Oh, Doug Denny says hi to you, Winston.
Doug
Yeah.
is a monster bass player.
Yeah, he's a badass. You were telling me.
Yeah, he is.
He's kind of an amalgam of all these, you know,
Yeah,
Jaco Pastorius. And it's like,
Yeah, there's some Jocko in there. There's probably
he's-
some Billy Sheehan in there.
Oh,
and just-
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, seriously.
Sounds
he's,
like
and he's
Gabriel
just a
Eller.
fun guy to be with, you know?
Gabriel
Seriously,
Eller
great
says,
player.
hey, Winston.
Who else
Oh,
has
hey,
checked
look
in
at
with
Gabe,
us?
Gabe Eller, yeah. He's a really nice sound guy, good guy, too.
Scott Cheney.
Yep.
Looks like our good friend Clint checked in from Crew Music Asia.
Scott
Hey,
Chadwick.
Clint.
But, you know, yeah, he's actually a guy that does a lot of backline.
Yeah.
Like one of the companies that I work for, yeah.
Hey, Scott, thanks for tuning in,
Yeah.
buddy. And Pat O'Doul, you're the brother. We sure appreciate you. And, of course, the one and only Charlie Zaricki, a dear friend. We hope everything's going good for you, Charlie. We're getting a bunch of merch in right now, and we'll send out some love to you, our good friends of the show. And it looks like, is that Chris K checked in, too? Yeah, Christopher K.
Chris Nouse.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for your guys' sending us comments. We appreciate it. It's super cool. Pat, you have a good night, Patrick.
Yeah.
And I want to send a little love over there to Mike Brown for doing all that he does. Mike Brown is our executive producer, our co-executive producer, our director, and all-around badass behind the gear and the switches. And thank you, Mike, for what you do. And, of course, my good friend Kyle Thomas for being you and all the hard work you put in, brother. Thank you so much.
I appreciate
And,
it.
of course, the good people at Sound Image Productions, my employer, my big brother, George Edwards, our general manager, and the one and only badass and mentor to us all, Dave Shadone. Thank you, Dave, for allowing us the space. We get a lot of support from the good people at Large Screen Video. Large Screen Video, if you need it big, you want to go large, you need video services, call Large Screen Video. I cannot say that enough. Cameron Brown and the boys over there work their asses off to bring the best products to you, and we still miss you, John Rigney. And of course, the good people at slowfiber.com. They provide our mask and do sewing stuff, fabrics, notions. They make it so our guys can work safely, feel safe at different shops, so we can keep ourselves going and busy. Next week we've got. I'm just lucky. It's that simple. I just know some fun people, and next week's guest is like Winston level crazy badass. This is the one and only Scotty Ross. Now, just so you know who Scotty Ross is. If you don't, I'm surprised. Scotty Ross is Van Halen's guy for 12 years. He just had a recent loss, as we all know, and it affected Scotty a great deal. A long time being their tour manager. The Who. Dio, Journey. If it's a big ass band and you needed to get it done right, you called Scotty Ross. We're doing this big event that we talk about here with which is going to be a sizable event for crews and emotional support to our brothers and sisters, called the Big Love Project. Scotty Ross is PM in that for us because again, when something's important, you need it done, you call Scotty fucking Ross. And it looks like Dennis. Now, Dennis. I'm just going to, Riven, help me with that. He's a great cat. He's on our pages a lot. He's funny, and he's got
Riveranera.
Yes, Dennis.
I butchered it. I'm
thanks.
sorry.
Yeah,
I
Dennis,
love you.
Your name is too good for us, and we knew we were going to have trouble with that, brother. Thank you for checking in with us. We appreciate all you guys. We do it for you. We're going to have Scotty Ross next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. I really suggest you tune in. It's going to be an interesting show. He's a great man. It's a great show. We got mad love for you guys. Remember, all we can say is be good to yourselves and to each other. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Good night.